Today we're going to read Act 5, Scene 3 of Romeo and Juliet. And this is the final scene of the play. So far, we've had a series of short scenes in quick succession, which helps to build up the tension. And here we are at the final moment of the play, where we have a longer scene where everything comes together and we have the ending, the conclusion of this text. So, we know that Romeo is headed back to Verona from Mantua. He believes that Juliet is dead. We know Friar Lawrence is heading to the graveyard as well, to the tomb, with a crowbar, so that he can get Juliet out safely and keep her with him until Romeo arrives. We know that Paris and everybody else believe that Juliet is actually dead. So the scene begins in the graveyard with Paris and his servant, the page. And here we have Paris, who's come to the graveyard for a dead Juliet, which shows how much he really does care for her and how much he does love her. So it's a touching and poignant scene because these two men are very much in love with Juliet, but Juliet is meant to be with only one of them, and that is Romeo. "Give me thy torch, boy, hence and stand aloof, yet put it out, for I would not be seen. Under yond yew trees lay thee all along, holding thy ear close to the hollow ground, so shall no foot upon the churchyard tread, being loose unfirm with digging up of graves, but thou shalt hear it. Whistle then to me, as signal that thou hearest something approach. Give me these flowers, do as I bid thee, go. I am afraid almost to stand alone here in the churchyard, yet I will adventure." So Paris has told his servant to let him be so that he can grieve on his own and he can pray on his own, and the servant needs to keep an eye about and an ear open so that nobody comes into the graveyard, lest any grave diggers and stealers robbers come in to rob the grave. Paris scatters flowers, sweet flowers, with flowers thy bridal bed I strew, O woe thy canopies, dust and stones, which with sweet water nightly I will dew, or wanting that with tears distilled by moans. The obsequies that I for thee will keep nightly shed be to strew thy grave and weep. The boy gives warning something doth approach. What cursed foot wanders this way to-night to cross my obsequies and true love's right? What, with a torch? Muffle me, knight, a while. So he hears someone come, and he sees someone come with a torch, and he asks the knight to muffle him, to quiet, to silence his sounds, and he hides the knight. So he's asking the knight, he's addressing the knight. That's an apostrophe. And just the fact that the knight can hide him is a personification as well. Enter Romeo and his servant Balthazar. Of course, they don't know that Paris is there. "Give me that mattock and the wrenching iron. Hold, take this letter. Early in the morning see thou deliver it to my lord and father. Give me the light. Upon thy life I charge thee, whate'er thou hearest or seest, stand all aloof and do not interrupt me in my course. Why I descend into this bed of death is partly to behold my lady's face, but chiefly to take thence from her dead finger a precious ring, a ring that I must use in dear employment. Therefore hence, be gone. But if thou, jealous, dost return to pry in what I further shall intend to do, by heaven I will tear thee joint by joint, and strew this hungry churchyard with thy limbs. The time and my intents are savage wild, more fierce and more inexorable far than empty tigers or the roaring sea." So Romeo tells Balthazar to go and let him be, and not to disturb him, no matter what he may hear and no matter what he may see. And if Balthazar does disturb him, he will tear him joint by joint, limb from limb, and throw him across the churchyard. Balthazar says, "I will be gone, sir, and not trouble you." "So shalt thou show me friendship. Take thou that, live and be prosperous, and farewell, good fellow." So Romeo gives Balthazar money to go away, but Balthazar is a loyal servant. He cares about Romeo, so he stays. He says, "For all this same I'll hide me whereabout. His looks I fear, and his intents I doubt." Balthazar says this aside, which means that Romeo cannot hear him, but we can. Romeo begins to open the tomb. "Thou detestable Moor, thou womb of death, gorge with the dearest morsel of the earth, thus I enforce thy rotten jaws to open, and in despite I'll cram thee with more food." So there's a lovely extended personification of the tomb as the womb of death, and the entrance to the tomb is the mouth of the jaws of death, and he's going to cram more food into there, suggesting that he will also add himself to the tomb by killing himself. That is banished haughty Montague that murdered my love's cousin, with which grief it is supposed the fair creature died, and here is come to do some villainous shame to the dead bodies. I will apprehend him. Paris sees Romeo and remembers that it is Romeo who killed Tybalt, and Tybalt's death that made Juliet cry and die of grief. So here he is ready to fight with Romeo, and he steps out and shouts out to Romeo, "Stop thy unhallowed toil, vile Montague. Can vengeance be pursued further than death? Condemned villain, I do apprehend thee. Obey and go with me, for thou must die." "I must indeed, and therefore came I hither. I must die, yes, and that's why I'm here," he says. "Good gentle youth, tempt not a desperate man. Fly hence and leave me. Think upon these gone. Let them affright thee, I beseech ye, the youth. Put not another sin upon my head by urging me to fury. Oh, begone! By heaven, I love thee better than myself, for I come hither armed against myself. Stay not, begone, live, and hereafter say a madman's mercy bid thee run away. Go, let me be, go, he says. I do defy that commination, and apprehend thee for a felon here. Wilt thou provoke me? Then have at thee, boy. And they draw their swords and fight. And Paris' servant says, "O Lord, they fight. I will go call the watch. I will call the prince, the officers, the watchers." And Romeo stabs Paris. "Oh, I am slain. If thou be merciful, open the tomb, lay me with Juliet." And he dies. And Romeo says, yes, he will. "In faith I will. Let me peruse this face. Mercutio's kinsman, noble county Paris. What said my man when my betossed soul did not attend him as we rode? I think he told me that Paris should have married Juliet. Said he not so, or did I dream it so? Or am I mad, hearing him talk of Juliet, to think it was so? Oh, give me thy hand, one writ with me in Psalmist Fortune's book. I'll bury thee in a triumphant grave." So again we have fate being addressed. Give me thy hand, and Misfortune's book is what the hand that fate has had in the fates of Romeo and Juliet. A grave, oh no, a lantern slaughtered youth, for here lies Juliet, and her beauty makes this vault a feasting presence full of light. Death, lie thou there by a dead man interred. And he lays Paris down in the tomb. How oft when men are at the point of death have they been merry, which their keepers call a lightning before death. Notice the reference to light and dark again, and lightning, and remember Romeo and Juliet's love has been compared to lightning before, that it's brief but it's passionate, and then it disappears just as quickly as it comes. So this is the same motif being used again. Oh, how may I call this a lightning? Oh, my love, my wife, death that had sucked the honey of thy breath had had no power yet upon thy beauty. Thou art not conquered. Beauty's ensign yet is crimson in thy lips and in thy cheeks, and death's pale flag is not advanced there. So again, death is being addressed in an apostrophe and being personified. Tybalt, liest thou there in thy bloody sheet? Oh, what more favour can I do to thee than with that hand that cuts thy youth in twain, to sunder his that was thine enemy? Forgive me, cousin. Ah, dear Juliet, why art thou yet so fair? Shall I believe that unsubstantial death is amorous, and that the lean abhorred monster keeps thee here in dark to be his paramour? For fear that I will still stay with thee, and never from this palace of dim night depart again. Here will I remain with worms that are thy chambermaids. Oh, here will I set up my everlasting rest, and shake the yoke of inauspicious stars from this world-wearied flesh. Eyes, look your last. Arms, take your last embrace. And lips, oh, you, the doors of breath, seal with a righteous kiss a dateless bargain to engrossing death. and he kisses Juliet, promising that he's going to die with her, and he's going to set up his own everlasting rest right there with her. And the inauspicious stars remind us of the prologue to the play, where we had the star-crossed lovers, inauspicious stars, fated ill fate that is they are destined for. Again reminding us of the Ptolemaic worldview in contrast to the Copernican worldview. But remember, it is Romeo's choice to take the poison. It is his choice to do all these things. So again we have the tension between the Ptolemaic and the Copernican worldviews. Come, bitter conduct, come, unsavoury guide, thou desperate pilot, now at once run on the dashing rocks thy seasick weary bark. Here's to my love, and he drinks the potion. O true apothecary, thy drugs are quick, thus with a kiss I die. And he kisses Juliet,